Arkansas Republican Senator Tom Cotton, member of the Senate Intelligence and Judiciary Committees, 30 Dems and growing, Senator. First, your thoughts on that, when this might happen, and also on this from Van Jones on CNN, comparing all the excitement at the RNC with Republicans to what we saw with Obama back in 2008. Listen.
This whole thing is like this. And hey, guys, the last time I was in a convention that felt like this was Obama 2008. There's something happening.
So what a stark contrast. You've got all this excitement and enthusiasm there in Milwaukee among Republicans, and you've got this list of 30 Democrats and growing calling for the other nominee to drop out of the race, Senator.
Sandra, it is a remarkable contrast. This is my fourth convention. It's by far the best convention I've attended. The Republican Party is unified. We're enthusiastic. We're excited, not just about our party in this election, but about the future of America. And just look at all the wonderful moments we had this week, from J.D. Vance describing how his family overcame hardship and his remarkable success story, his mother overcoming addiction to be clean for 10 years. Donald Trump's incredible account of his miraculous survival of that assassination attempt. And I agree with President Trump. It was nothing short of a miracle. To a great Kid Rock cover and Hulk Hogan declaring Trumpomania is ready to run wild across the country. By contrast, you have the Democrats mounting a coup against their nominee, a man who wasn't even opposed in their primaries, who has not changed at all since millions of Democrats voted for him, in some cases just a few weeks or a couple months ago. Yet Nancy Pelosi and Barack Obama and Wall Street bankers and Hollywood moguls are launching a coup to try to overthrow him as the nominee. The contrast couldn't be starker, and it gets back to the fundamental differences between the parties, that the American people know that things were good when Donald Trump was president, and everything has gone to hell since Joe Biden has been president. That's why they know they can't win an election this year.
So like you, Senator, a lot of Republicans are reveling in this idea that there is party unity among the GOP, which in and of itself is kind of remarkable. And then the Democrats are in disarray. A lot of people are looking back to 1968 as the last time something crazy like this potentially happened. They had an open convention. Hubert Humphrey eventually became the Democratic nominee. But when he went into the general election against Richard Nixon, he only lost by 500,000 votes. It was 0.7 of 1 percentage point that separated the two of them, though Humphrey did get shellacked in the Electoral College vote. So even if the Democrats are in disarray, if they pull it together around a candidate at their convention in August, this race is still likely to be pretty tight.
Yeah, John, that's exactly what Donald Trump and the campaign is preparing for. He's not resting on his laurels. He and J.D. Vance are going to be out in Grand Rapids, Michigan tomorrow campaigning, while Joe Biden is still hiding away from the coronavirus. Now, we do think that in the end, we're going to win by a comfortable margin in many states, but the campaign is planning for a very tough race, whether it's Joe Biden or Kamala Harris or any other far-left Democrat that they want to put up. Because in the end, all of these Democrats agree with the same thing that Joe Biden has done for years. It's unconstrained spending leading to out-of-control inflation, open borders, weakness leading to war and chaos all around the world. With Donald Trump, we had prosperity, security, and stability. That's what we'll have once again.
You know, I'm just getting some of the latest words coming from this campaign through Biden's campaign chair, saying he's very much still in this race. They see multiple paths to victory. So they are insistent still, it appears at this point, even if something changes this weekend, this is the message that they're putting out. This is Jen O'Malley Dillon saying that battleground voters are still with Biden. Listen.
When you get to the bottom and the heart of what we are doing every day from the campaign, and we are dealing with the voters that are in battleground states, they have questions, but they are staying with Joe Biden, and our numbers are showing that.
I mean, is it just anybody's guess what happens here?
I have no idea what's going to happen, and I don't think many other people do either, Sandra. I mean, it's pretty clear if you look at the stories and how they're leaked and where they're likely coming from, that the Democratic High Command, Barack Obama, Nancy Pelosi, George Clooney, wealthy donors from Hollywood and Wall Street have circled the wagons to oppose Joe Biden's nomination, even though just months ago they were all circling the wagons to defend Joe Biden, to say he's sharp as a tack, he runs circles around us in private. They're all part of a conspiracy of silence to protect Joe Biden. I would add, so is Kamala Harris, and she needs to answer for her own silence about President Biden's condition. But the only thing they're worried about now is not Joe Biden's health condition or his ability to be president, because they don't want him to resign as president. They're only worried about their grip on power. They're only worried now that they can't keep this conspiracy of silence going, and that it's going to cost them the election.
Senator, I want to ask you quickly about the assassination attempt against the former president. Because you were in the military, you know about force protection, you served in Afghanistan. What do you think of the security failures that happened in Butler, Pennsylvania? And what is the appropriate forum to investigate this in? Should it be in Congress, or should it be in the wake of the Kennedy assassination, something like a Warren Commission?
Well, it is an astonishing failure by the Secret Service leadership. I do want to commend, of course, the brave Secret Service agents and local law enforcement that were on the scene, that not only protected President Trump, but also protected the audience. Sadly, one man was killed and others were wounded, but it could have been much, much worse without their bravery. But the planning for this event, the resourcing for it, the leadership of the Secret Service is woefully deficient. Kim Cheadle, the director of the Secret Service, not only has refused to accept responsibility, but she's also minimizing her role in this. She's blaming local law enforcement or blaming a sloped roof of all things.
Yeah.
This was not something that was unforeseeable. Many people actually foresaw it. Again, this was a shot from about 150 yards. This is something that we expect privates to do by the 4th or 5th week of basic training. It was not a 900-yard shot by the second coming of White Death, the famous World War II sniper from Finland. It was obvious that this roof should have been controlled, that building should have been under control. Kim Cheadle, the Secret Service director, needs to resign. Congress is going to look into this as well. But also, Joe Biden should demand accountability as well. Because it's not just about Donald Trump, it's about his safety and the safety of their families and the safety of other protectees. The Secret Service has some of the best men and women in law enforcement. They deserve better leaders.
What's the plan in the Senate to investigate this?
I think we're going forward with hearings, if not next week when the House is having their hearings, and hopefully the week after that. And Ms. Cheadle needs to come and testify. She needs to answer for failures. We also probably want to hear from people who are on the ground, to include local law enforcement, about the planning that went into this, why there wasn't more resources dedicated to it, why that building was unsecure. Again, this was not a 1,500-yard shot with a $75,000 sniper rifle and scope. This was a shot that we expect privates in the middle of basic training to be able to make.
And I think they said they found a golf rangefinder is what he used.
And it was a lone wolf attack too, in the face of threats from Iran. Imagine if this was a trained team that had been trying to go after the former president. What would have happened?
Well, yeah, and apparently, because of those threats from Iran, this was actually the enhanced or beefed up version of security for President Trump, which raises further questions. But again, I trust the Secret Service now is going to be wired much tighter from the top to the bottom. Again, not only for President Trump, but for President Biden and RFK Jr. and all of its other protectees, and that will provide them the resources they need. But there does have to be accountability at the top of the Secret Service, and there needs to be new leadership that will establish a new culture inside of that
probably
agency.
So many listening to that and the American public wondering, how can you fix a problem if you don't admit the mistakes or the errors in your way or the execution of the plan? So we'll see what happens when those hearings begin on Monday. Senator, thank you.
Thanks, Senator.
Thank you.
All right.